Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever it is, wherever you are listening. This is Adrian here again with the Think2Thrive podcast. And today I'm delighted to have with me Karl Davidson from the Cashflow Club in Ireland. Karl is an entrepreneur, he's self-employed, he's an engineer, he's done loads of things, and I can't wait to really get into Karl's story throughout the course of this interview. Karl, I'll ask you straight away, please give a bit of an introduction to yourself and do yourself a bit more justice than I just did, okay?
Yeah, no worries, Adrian. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And it's great to be on the Think2Thrive podcast. I really appreciate it. And I'm grateful and blessed for the opportunity as well. Wow, where do I start? Well, I mean, first of all, I'm a big helper. And, I'll get into my story a little bit, when we go through. But, I'm a father. I'm a husband, and I'm a father of two kids, which I absolutely adore, baby Brona and baby Saoirse, and my wife Brona as well. And she's amazing. She was the one that really introduced me to the whole entrepreneurial world. I kind of knew about it and I understood a little bit about it, but I didn't know where to start, or I didn't know what to do. And I seen a few things kind of on my journey, but it was really at the age of 25 was boom. That was the real kind of click for me, where I was like, okay, I read a few books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and How to Win Friends and Influence People. And it just triggered something absolutely catastrophic in the best way possible in my mindset and in my brain. And I was like, you know what? Let's go down this road. And, I have a background in electrical engineering, and I've worked for so many different semiconductor companies across the world. And for anyone that doesn't know, semiconductors, it's basically all the little small microchips, nanochips that are in your laptop, in your phone, that you're listening to me and you on as well. So that, for me, when I started that kind of career, that was just that normal kind of usual progression of, okay, you go to school, when you finish school, you either just get a job, that's fine. You either go into a trade, that's great, or you go into college, and that's great too. And then after college, that's when I started that corporate kind of role as well. And for me, it was great, but at the same time, I was thinking to myself, is this it? Do I have to now do another 50 years of this? Because, is it, what's next? And, thankfully, everything, looking back, the dots aligned, and here I am now. And it's an amazing journey with all its trials and tribulations, though.
Of course, nothing is ever sort of smooth sailing. And sure, what would be the fun in that if it was?
Exactly.
It's only through these trials and tribulations that we come across that we actually really learn who we are and what we're capable of.
Yeah.
You used a very emotive word there when you said about catastrophic, because most of the time catastrophic would be a real negative connotation to that word. Could you tell us a little bit more? What do you mean?
Yeah,
it just changed everything, or?
Yeah, it changed. Like when I read How to Win Friends and Influence People, I was walking in a suburb of Japan, in a really, really busy street. And this was a small suburb of Tokyo. And I was walking there, and there was loads of Japanese to my left and right, and I was crossing the road. And one of the sentences really hit me. And it was, do you control your emotions, or do your emotions control you? And I swear to God, Adrian, I stood right in the middle of the road, and I was like, oh my God, like, what the hell? Like, oh my God. And I was like, for this whole time, my emotions were controlling me. And my emotions I was doing things from an emotional base rather than always doing it from a logic, or, having a mix of both. I was doing things from an emotional side of things, and everything changed then. After that, I actually listened to Rich Dad, Poor Dad. That on the financial side of things, boom, completely and utterly 180, just flipped my world around. I was like, oh my God, I can invest. I can do investing. Like, I don't need to be, that's how you get rich. you know, is how you invest and do business and buy businesses and open businesses. Like, it's not a case of like anyone can do it, you know. And it wasn't a case when I was reading or listening to that, I was like, oh my God, I can do that. Me, ordinary Karl, like, you know, just went to school, got some good results, got a degree, but I can do it. I can actually invest. I can start a business, whether it's online, whether it's traditional brick and mortar. I can do that. And that to me was like massively an awakening, a massive big awakening. So yeah, it's just been a roller coaster for the last while. Possible.
Well, that's it's a phenomenal book, that Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it's one that I'm sure a lot of people who would stumble across this podcast would probably have heard, listened to, or read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
There is also, I'm just thinking of your two kids because I bought it recently for my girls. There's the Escape the Rat Race, which is you got it there?
I have it here. Yeah, I have it here. Where is it? Oh, it's underneath all the books. Well, I have it here. Yeah, great book.
Yeah. The cartoon version of it, which is or the comic book version of it, which is fantastic for kids. So I had some conversations with my 7-year-old recently about what is tax, Daddy? I was like, but that's not fair that the government comes and takes your money. Why would they do that?
Yeah,
it's yours.
Exactly. Yeah. It's so interesting. Like, even my 2-year-old, actually, when she was about 1.5, we were sitting down and she had like her like little money box, right? And I was sitting beside her, and I would put my hand out and she would give me money. And then basically I would say more, because she learned that word from a young age, more, right? So I was like, more, and she would be giving me more and more and more until she ran out. And I started saying more. And then what she did was she literally just took back all my money and started to give me more. And I was like, wow, that's exactly what, like, this is a 1.5-year-old. I haven't given her much education, only that what she's been listening to me and her mother like talking about. But like, she literally was like, okay, I'm just going to take the taxes back from the people and then give them a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. But you know, thankfully, you know, she understands that, like, and also, you know, I'm blessed because I'm a big gold and silver investor. Like, I've been putting like silver coins and gold coins into her hand, and you know, again, I would play like, you know, games with her. I'd give her like, I put 50 euro in her hand, and she'd look at it and she'd be like, okay, you know. But then I put in like a silver coin, and her eyes would just, you know, brighten up. And I'm like, you know, and this is like, we all know about, well, a few people know about the subconscious programming that we got, you know, growing up, and, you know, everything that we've learned from people and all that sort of stuff. She has only been on the world at the time. She's only 1.5. So she already has that strong foundation as well. And it's incredible, because only good, strong foundations, that's what you need to grow and prosper as well. But unfortunately, for most adults, you don't have that strong foundation, and you only get that when you become an adult. So you have to unlearn what you learn and relearn better as well, you know. And that's why you see, like, you know, a lot of you know, kids that have grown up with wealthy parents, there's a confidence about them. They still don't fully understand about kind of the hard work, and then they start getting into that, but there's a confidence about them. There's that strong foundation that they understand what to do and what not to do. And that's not to say other people don't as well, but it's a really interesting kind of journey that the kids go on when the parents are like, you know, literally pushing the wealth mindset and the wealth concept onto them as well. You know, it's interesting.
Yeah, I know, it's super interesting, and I remember Bob many times talking about. It's a bit of a cliche at this stage. I mean, most people know that you're a product of the people that you surround yourself with. Makes sense.
Exactly. 100%.
But there's, to take that sort of one step further, then, Karl, is there's a reason why a lot of people who are, let's say, on welfare are second generation, third generation, fourth generation people on welfare. And that's because they have learned about money
Yeah.
from their parents, and they've been programmed about money from their parents. And there's also, the people who are wealthy are second generation, third generation, fourth generation coming from money, is because they've learned something completely different about money from their situation and from their surroundings.
Yeah.
So for the people in the middle, and I include myself, the person in the middle, is to try and learn something new in order to accelerate. And it's unfortunate you don't see it very often that people break free and create this new paradigm, create this new programming, as you mentioned, in the subconscious mind.
Yeah.
The bit that was making me smile there a minute ago with a 2-year-old. You have about another 5 years up until about the age of 7 when they're going to operate purely on the subconscious mind.
Exactly.
And it's so much fun because they believe everything that you tell them. The subconscious mind, as you probably know, doesn't have the ability to reject anything. It must accept everything that's impressed upon it.
Exactly.
And especially from a figure of authority, as in a parent, it's so much fun. But use that time obviously to create that programming that's going to serve them when they get older.
Yeah, that's the thing. And it's so important as well, like as a parent, that you become the best version of yourself, because they're looking up to you. So they see you, like right now I'm on the carnivore diet, right? And I see my daughter, just eating the same as me. Whereas like other people who don't eat, who might eat really bad processed food and stuff like that, they're wondering why, like, oh, my kid's just eating all these sweets and stuff. And it's like, well, they just see you doing it. And it is a case of monkey see, monkey do, like, and it's a really, really interesting thing. Like, and to basically to be aware of that, to know the science behind it. I know Bob Proctor talks about it, the science, like, that's crucial. But most people, they don't take the time to learn about that, to learn about the inner workings of their mind. They know it to a certain degree, they know, but they never really act upon it. And until something big happens in their life, or something that, something drastically happens that changes it, like whatever, then it's like, oh, okay, now is the time to turn and pivot, So really, really interesting. I find the mind fascinating. I find the psychology of people, the way they do things, particularly in the finance industry, like the trends, the investing, the fear of loss, all that sort of stuff. It's incredible, It's incredible.
It is. We can get into it at another stage, I'm sure, but I don't know if you see behind me, this is my little, what my girls call the fat stick man.
Yeah.
Which is the way to describe how the mind works. And I love that because it's so logical. I'm an incredibly logical person myself. I think most men are, to a certain degree, but to explain the link between the thoughts that you think and the results that you get, that there's a flow. And I was over in London last week. Last week. No, was it week before last? Can't remember. Last week, I think. And I was talking to a bunch of people who work in the car hire industry.
Nice.
And we were talking about revenue management, and we were talking about the dependence that they have in the car rental industry on brokers, car rental brokers like your Booking.com or your Expedia, your Priceline, etc., those sort of things, and how that has been programmed into them. Because it has, over the last 10 or 15, maybe 20 years, been programmed into car rental operators to, if we need more business, we go to the brokers. If we need to make more money, we buy more cars, etc. And the whole thing about, I was explaining how the mind works, was to get them to think something slightly differently.
Exactly.
That there is more than one way to skin a cat, as they say. Rich Dad Poor Dad, just to come back to that for a second, because I read that book a few years ago, and when I finished reading the book, I had this burning desire inside of me to spread that with as many people as I possibly could, because in Ireland, and we hear it all the time, even in the news at the moment, the want to own a house, or to own your bit of land, etc., or whatever it is. And the narrative that comes along with that, which this is the biggest asset you'll ever own, is your house.
Yeah.
And then to hear Robert Kiyosaki go, well, it's not an asset, it's a liability, costs you money. Yeah, rent. I was like, what?
Yeah. It's so crazy, like, and even playing the cash flow board game as well, like, it's such an add-on to the book. In fact, well, yeah, I mean, he had the board game before and then the book, but the board game really teaches you about the mindset and how to kind of how to do the deals. Like, I remember playing with a property investor, a very big property investor in Ireland, and he was always like, just do the deal, just do the deal. And I see it a lot now in the industry, like whether it's property, whether it's stocks, whether it's crypto or whatever, gold and silver. It's like people are hesitating to do the deal because of fear. And we know what fear stands for: false evidence appearing real. But they're hesitant of parting with their money. But I remember my first big investment was silver, and the reasons for me it was silver was because I had a logical brain. I had an engineering background. I knew that silver was used in pretty much every electrical device in the world. It's one of the best conductors of electricity. I knew it was a consumable metal, and I said to myself, right, if I just stock up on that, eventually they'll deplete. Even if they find more, eventually humans, especially because we're going to the digitalized world, data centers are going to be massive as well. Like, they all need silver and a little bit of gold as well. So I thought, okay, grand, I'm going to start doing that. But that, to me, I remember parting with a massive sum of money. Like, I'm not talking like just a couple of hundred or just a couple of grand, like a chunk of money. And I remember thinking, oh my God, like, what happens if the price goes down and all this sort of stuff? But that gave me the foundation. And that's not going to be the same for everyone. That's just my own journey. Like, other people might say, do you know what? I want to get a rental property, or, but you're still going to have to part with your money. And most people, because they have this program scarcity mindset, they don't want to part with their money.
Yeah.
They never get ahead. They never kind of move forward onto greater and bigger things because of that fear of, oh, I mightn't have enough. And when you start educating yourself, when you read Rich Dad Poor Dad or listen to it, I mean, I read it nearly every year just to refresh, because you'll always get something different. And then I read a bunch of other books as well, like, not just financial education, like, so many other books. I'm actually right now rereading my best-selling book as well. So it's so interesting when, like, you go back over things and you take your mind is always evolving. So I'm not the same person as I was when I first started kind of entrepreneurship. I'm in a totally different league now with myself, not comparing myself to everyone. And I think that's something that people need to do as well, is like realize that you're just in competition with yourself every single day. Like, yeah, okay, there might be people out there that do similar things to you, or even the same things. You might be a car salesman and the other person might be a car salesman. But at the end of the day, you're just in competition with yourself. And I think when you realize that, you start to play games with yourself. Oh, Karl, oh, you only read 10 pages. Why not read 11 pages today, or 12 pages today, or whatever? Like, so it's really, really interesting as well, So I know I kind of rambled on there a little bit, Adrian.
No. You're good. You're good. I'll let you talk. It's something that came into my mind, though, is what you say about rereading the books over again. I can't remember who the saying was from. I love sayings. I gather quotes is one of the things that I do. But one was, when you reread something, you don't see something that that wasn't there before, but you see something in yourself that wasn't there before. So, plus there's another thing when you're listening. I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I love audiobooks, but say for example, this is your attention span. Okay, so you're listening, and then something triggers you, and you go, oh, and then you go off, and then you go, oh, we get better listen again, and you come back online again, you listen, and then something else triggers, and you go off. So it's like this sort of like a castle effect on the top of it. So by reading something over and over again, what you're doing is you're making sure that you're losing your attention at a different point. So each time you're getting something out of it that you didn't get before. And you keep rereading and re-listening, and every time you get it, you get something else out of it that you missed the last time.
And it's so important to understand that as well. And that's why I never used to read until I started listening to books. I only read two and a half books up until the age of 25, one for my leaving cert, one for my junior cert. And then I picked up a Bear Grylls book, and I read half that, and it just wasn't like, I just couldn't sit down. So I started listening to books, and then I started getting more into kind of just developing my mind. And then I was like, okay, now I can understand, and now I can appreciate just sitting down and reading books. But most people don't invest in themselves. They don't invest. Most people, once they come out of third level education or even second level education, they don't invest any money into themselves. Whereas, same with you, Adrian, same with me, same with my wife, Rona, we have pumped thousands into our self-education. So formal, Jim Rohn says this, formal education will make you a living, self-education will make you a fortune. And that's so important, because there's so many answers to your questions in so many books. And it's so powerful once you kind of go on that journey as well. And you don't even have to start a business or anything like that. You don't even have to start investing. You just could be the best person that you could possibly be by reading these books, by attending seminars, by going on webinars, by going to events. And it's a beautiful journey.
Well, there's a basic rule of life is that you're either growing or you're dying.
Yes.
So if you're not going forwards, you're going backwards. And the only way to go forwards is to push yourself, to learn something, to see something new, to expand each and every day. And like you say, yes, we've invested heavily in education, and it wasn't something for anybody that's listening. It wasn't something for me personally that happened straight out of college. It was at least 10 years after I left college before I became enlightened enough to think, okay, well, I need to really sort of invest in myself a little bit more, and did a postgrad. And then that was sort of the kickstart in the journey of learning more was from there.
Nice.
Take you back a little bit, Karl. It's one of the things that I think is really interesting, because as I said before we started recording, the concept of the Think to Thrive podcast, I mean, it's in the name, Think to Thrive. You got to think in order to succeed, and think differently in order to succeed. And I like to think of this as a way to inspire by sharing stories. And I know as a race of people, we've been telling stories since we were sitting in caves around a fire. And I think it's a great way to share knowledge and a great way to connect with people. So if we take you back in your life story to what was life like as Kitty Karl?
I mean, like, look, I grew up in a good family, a broken family, at the same time. Like, my mom and dad separated when I was 8 years of age. So, like, I could see the cracks before that as well. Like, about a year or two before, I could kind of see different cracks and stuff. And that was kind of like, from that point on, there was a change. And that was a pivotal point in the subconscious mind between 7 and 8, as you mentioned. Like, and I kind of didn't really know what was going on, but obviously I had an idea. But I remember thinking to myself, okay, my dad's gone now. Like, they just separated. I still see my dad. We have a great relationship and stuff. But my dad separated. He wasn't in the house, and I was like, okay, I have an older brother, a younger sister, and then two other brothers from another mother. But I was kind of thinking to myself, right, just me personally, I need to start making money. I need to do what dads do. They go to work and stuff like that. And I need to kind of provide for not just me, but for my family. Like I was like, right, I need to start making money somehow. I don't know, like like jumbo yard sales, or what were they? Jumbo sales, they were called back in the day, where you'd literally put out your toys in front of your house and kids would come along, 50p for that, or £1 for that. Like, and I remember doing that. I remember when I was 10, I started a paper round. I was getting £5 for 200 papers. So I would get them on, I think, like usually a Sunday night and I would, put them in people's door, what do you call it? Post boxes. Oh God, I had a brain fart there. Letter boxes. And I would do that. I would sit down, I would fold it, I would literally have my little bag, and I'd be walking around the estate, putting in the newspapers. And I would get £5, and I was like, okay, I'm doing that every week. And I remember thinking, okay, I'll save up my money, and then at least I have money there in order to, spend on things. I could spend it on sweets if I wanted to. I could spend it on, I remember I got this kind of couch, but like that stayed with me for the rest of my life, really. And then when I was 16, I got a proper job. 16, I got like, a job actually in a hotel as well, in the K Club. And that was amazing. That was incredible. I started for 1 week in the European Open back in 2000, and what was that? I'm going back. I started college in 2008, was it? Or maybe it was before that, actually. No, it wasn't 18. It was about 2006, I think it was. Yeah, it was 16. Yeah, 2006. And so anyway, I only got the job for 1 week. They were hiring a load of people. So I said, right, grand. I made a good impression for that 1 week, and I was able to come back the following September, and I stuck with them for 4 years, waiting tables every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, doing weddings pretty much every weekend, And I was in college then. I was in college then as well. So I was in college, I was in school, and then I was in college as well. And like that was a mad time, because like I had no time. I had lots of money, I had no time, and I missed out on where friends were going on holidays and stuff like that. But then that all kind of moved into my college days. And then basically I finished college after 3 years, and then I got a corporate job.
Yeah.
And that corporate job basically flew me around the world, working on the most advanced semiconductor machines on the planet. And for me, when I look back at that, and I was like, okay, I might have missed out on a lot of, lads' holidays and stuff like that. But here I am now over in Japan. Here I am now over in Taiwan at 20 years of age, pulling in like $2,000 a month, more money than sense. And I was just like throwing it at, things and materialistic items. And, I just didn't know what to do with it. And that's when, I started creeping into the whole, like, what do I do now? Like, and then boom, obviously I met a girl online, turned out to be Brona. And then she introduced me to all Rich Dad Poor Dad at 25. We started a relationship, and then 2 months into it, I proposed to her. Within the year, we were married, and it was yeah. And then we got married in Romania, and mad story as well. Like, but so when I look back and I think, oh, I might have missed out on things, or I was always working. I'm like, I learned how to play chess in China, of all countries. And when I started learning about that, I was like, oh, you have to be strategic. You have to know 2 to 3 steps in front of you. And I think when I go back to kind of, Karl as young Karl, I was always kind of thinking that forward. Now, sometimes you can kind of get stuck in thinking forward because it can give you that anxiety. You know, it's like, oh, what about this and what about that? But I learned that a lot of my anxiety when I was younger and then into my adult life. When I was younger, I would get anxiety because I was always kind of thinking about the future and what about this and what about money and what about that and blah blah blah, and oh, will I have enough money and blah 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 blah. So a lot of my anxiety came with money. And then when I started my adult life and my career, I started getting anxious about the weather because I worked a lot of night shifts. And anytime it was sunny, I was like, right, I need to get up. I need to be out in the sun. I need to get not a tan, but I need to get some vitamin D on me. And, you know, I need that sun. And that's one of the reasons why I bought a house in Portugal and we're relocating over there, because I was like, I thrive in good weather. And, for people that are watching me and listening to me, like, and going, well, like I went to school with him or I know him, and they haven't seen anything yet. Like, because when we were in Xiamen in China, it was sunny and we were doing the best. We were running an online business in China. And I don't know if you've ever been to China, like,
No.
so hard to even get on the internet in China. And I was running an online business across 3 different continents with people all from all over the world. And it was just crazy. So I know I thrive in sunny weather. So that anxiety is gone now.
Yeah.
The money anxiety is gone as well, because I realized after reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, oh, multiple streams of income. I don't need to depend on one job. I don't like imagine, and this is why it's so scary for people. They're depending on one job that would replace them in a heartbeat if they passed away or anything like that. They'd literally within a couple of weeks their job would be filled. And that's not to slate a job. We need people in jobs, you know. But at the same time, it's like when you realize that particularly big multinational and multi-international corporations, like they just see it as a number at the end of the day. Like, and again, not slating them or anything. Again, some of these companies are great. They've made great advances for human and human beings and all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, if you're just depending on your job for everything, your mortgage, your childcare and stuff, that job can just literally go. Like, I don't understand. Like, I used to understand, but when I used to understand, I'd be crippled in anxiety. I'd be like, oh my God.
Well, it comes back, Karl, that scarcity mindset that you talk about. Yeah. Comes back to if you I remember as a kid, I'd almost be afraid to ask for something because the answer was inevitably no. And the reason was, you think we're made of money? Money doesn't grow on trees. You can't afford that. All those sort of things. Now, you know, to be fair, growing up in the 80s and the 90s, money was a little bit scarce. But you know, saying that, it wasn't we weren't poor in any way, shape, or form. But that is magnified across, let's say, everywhere across Ireland. I think we have a very bad relationship with money as a nation, people in Ireland. We have that, and it's not just Ireland, but I know Ireland better than other countries. It's that scarcity mindset of, you know, there's not enough money to go around. When do you know what? There's more than enough money to go around for everybody. There is an abundance of money everywhere. All you got to do is look for it.
100%.
And there's no, for anybody who's listening, there is no security in a job. As you say, you can be replaced tomorrow. There was a time when there was security, you know, that sort of comes from our parents and our grandparents. You know, there was a time. My father was a school teacher, and he had no more interest in being a school teacher than anything else. He was phenomenal at making things with his hands. You know, he was a really good carpenter. But when he was growing up, in the family, there's 4 or 5 teachers, a nun, an engineer, and I suppose maybe the black sheep who was a gardener. But you know, they were all taught to get a good pensionable job, something that's safe and secure.
Exactly.
And you know, there's nothing safe and secure about jobs these days.
And I think as well, particularly in this day and age, particularly for our generation and even the generation behind us as well, if we're telling them, oh, get a safe, secure job, and we're feeding them that safe, secure, mindset, that scarcity of like, oh my God, I know a place where you can go and you can get 3 meals a day. You get 1 hour of sunshine, and it has all the security and all the safety in the world, and that's
Yeah,
in prison.
yeah, and you don't have to pay to be there.
And you don't have to pay to be there. But see, that's the thing. Like when you say it like that, people are like, that's a load of BS. But that's the mindset that you've been programmed, that these words of safe and secure and oh my God, like nobody's getting out of here alive.
No.
Like nobody's getting out of here alive. So it's like, well, you have to be able to, that's why you have to be able to take calculated risks. But in order to take calculated risks, you need the education. You need the education first to take the calculated risks. Like people always say to me, oh, investing is gambling, and oh, investing is risky. And I'm like, no, it's not at all. What makes an investment risky is the lack of financial education of the investor.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be calculated and you have to be strategic, and you can't just go, oh, I'm going to run down to the credit union now and take 20 grand out, and I see Bitcoins all over the news, so here you go, there's 20 grand. You have no education. You need to understand what cryptocurrency is. You need to understand the stock market. You need to understand property. You need to understand gold and silver commodities. You need to understand cash flow. You need to these are all things that, like, I didn't make an investment until I basically read Rich Dad Poor Dad, until I started going to seminars, until I got around people that had the results that I wanted. That's very important as well, Adrian, is like taking, when I say advice, like obviously I'm not a qualified financial advisor. All qualified financial advisors are great sales people, and that's fantastic. They need to put bread on their table and butter and all the trimmings, and that's totally fine. Get it? But at the same time, my teachings, particularly in the Cash Flow Club Ireland, where it's all education based, and it's up to you on whether or not to decide. I don't have this magic lollipop that so many other gurus out there that say, oh, this stock is going to shoot to the moon, and this cryptocurrency is going to go shoot to the moon. It's like, I don't have this magic pill that you can swallow. Vamos, you're a millionaire. You have to put in the work, and that work is education, but also it's application of that education. So you can then take the calculated risk. You can then buy that business. You can then start that online business. You can then make an investment, but you have to get the basics right and go forward. And that's what the Cash Flow Club teaches you, but it's based on the philosophies of Robert Kiyosaki. And, so it's so interesting, because people join the club and they think, oh, I've got 10 grand here. I'm coming into 50 grand. What should I put it in? And I'm like, well, first of all, you don't tell people that you have money, because otherwise they're just going to try and take it from you. You be strategic and you go, okay, what's in alignment with my morals, my ethics, my principles? What will I invest in? I always say this to clients and people who want to join my mentorship programs. I'm like, look, if you're a fitness trainer, right, and you're teaching somebody how to be strong and healthy and put good food into their body and, count their calories and, all of that sort of stuff. Yeah. You're not doing the work for them. They show up to the gym, they do the work. But if you take that profit that you've made from your business in terms of personal training and you pump it into a stock like McDonald's or Coke, that's totally out of alignment with what you're preaching and doing to what you're investing in. I know people, Adrian, that are big into this whole cashless society movement, as in they want to remain with cash in their hand. They don't want, these, when they go to Tesco and, you can only pay by card and all this digital stuff.
Yeah.
It can be, for some people, it's like, oh God, like, loss of jobs and blah, blah, blah. But they're big into like, no, we must keep cash alive. That same person is investing in cryptocurrency.
It doesn't tie in. No.
Yeah, it doesn't tie in. If you are big into the cash society, as in having cash, then you wouldn't invest in a digital currency that you can't hold. Okay, yeah, you can have it. You can have cryptocurrencies on a ledger. You can have it on a platform like crypto or whatever. But at the same time, you're not physically holding it. You are staunch in your principles about holding cash in your hand and keeping cash alive and making sure that when they're, when your baby loses a tooth, that you can put cash underneath their pillow and you can go to a car boot sale and you can do cash. So this is where we're at now as well in terms of financial education as well. There's this kind of new wave of kind of people that they don't want to miss out. They want to ride the wave, but at the same time, they don't know how to swim and they don't know what wave to ride.
Yeah.
And that's why education is so important as well, Adrian. So yeah, I know I go off on these tangents because I have this creative mind where it just brings me.
No, it's brilliant to listen to, Karl. But your point on education, I couldn't agree more with you. In fact, I on my LinkedIn there today or yesterday, my one of the things that I say to people all the time is understanding is the key to success. Yeah. And that doesn't matter in whatever it is that you're trying to do. Obviously, from my standpoint, I try to get people to understand their mind.
Yeah.
So I did a little video on TikTok the other day. Believe it or not, I'm on TikTok.
Nice.
Not that often, or not often enough, but and I came up with an acronym which was UUA. Yeah. So the first U is understanding what's going on, understanding how to change, and then applying that change to achieve what you want. Yeah. So like you with the education on finance, you have to understand what's going on. You have to understand what you need to do, and then you need to apply it in order to get the result.
Exactly. And you can't just pawn it off to somebody else as well. Like I also equate financial education to learning a mixed martial art or a self-defense skill. Like I know self-defense. I'm learning a martial art, or you could call it martial art. And no matter what, like when you learn, like there's no way, like you can't say, okay, here, take my money and like I'll just learn it. Like it's no, you have to learn and apply. You have to learn and apply. Whereas in the finance world, there's so many people that again have money, and it's like, oh, Mr. Advisor, or Mr. Person who talks about one certain asset all the time, or Mr. Person who knows a lot about different assets. It's like, what should I do? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, what do you want out of life? It's really interesting. Like when you kind of break it down, it's like you need to understand yourself to understand more money.
Yeah, it's like what Simon Sinek always says: start with the why. Yeah?
Yes,
you got to start understand your why first of all, before you do anything, and that applies not just to business, not just to how you run your company or anything like that, but it applies to everything.
Yeah.
If you don't have a destination in mind, how are you going to get there?
Yeah. You don't even know you're getting there. You don't even know where you're going.
No. So I love the story of it's like a ship. Yeah, a ship leaves the port. Yeah, and one ship has got a key destination in mind. It knows where it's heading for. It knows the destination port. For 99.9% of the journey, it doesn't know, exactly where it is in relation to that, or whether it's going to make it. But then at the last 0.1%, it reaches the port because it was heading in that direction. And you take another ship that leaves the port and has no clue where it's going to go. What's going to happen? It's just going to go around in circles, or get lost at sea, or wash up in the rocks, or something like that. It's never going to reach a destination because it never had a destination that it was heading for.
Exactly.
And it's for me, it's very sad in some ways that the vast majority of people are doing like that second ship. They've no plan, no goal, nowhere that they're trying to get to, and then they're worried and annoyed and upset that they haven't gotten there.
Yeah. It's so interesting, and you mentioned, and I wanted to come back to a point that you mentioned, because it sparked a book in my mind when you were talking, and it was called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy.
Okay.
You heard of that? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an amazing book, and everything compounds. Everything, no matter what, everything that you do will compound. So if you make bad decisions, it will compound, and that's why a lot of people they have this midlife crisis BS. I don't believe in like this midlife crisis thing, but it happens at that point where you turn around and you go, "Oh my God, how am I divorced? Or how am I so big and fat? And what am I doing?" Like, and it's like, well, you're out of shape because you had, a Diet Coke, which you thought was fat free or less sugar, but you had one of them every day in your job at lunch, 5 days a week, maybe a sixth day on a Saturday for the guts of 10, 15, 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the decision. When you start making small incremental decisions about your finances in a good way, it will have massive compound effect. Like I dollar cost average into a lot of investing assets and stuff like that. And it's like, right, next year I'll have an Airbnb up and running. And it's like all of these decisions that I'm making now will pay dividends in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so important for people to understand that is like where you are right now is a collection of decisions and choices you made 5, 10, 15 years ago. If you don't like where you are now, you have to make different and better. When I say better, I don't mean the decisions that you made were bad. They just weren't the right ones to where you need to be or to where you need to get to.
Yeah.
But you first need to understand where it is you want to get to.
That's the other bit of where you are now is as a result of what you've done in the past, but it's not an indication of what you can do in the future either.
100%.
Yeah. You can change it, and you're the only one that can change it. Anybody who's looking for somebody else to change it for you, you're out of luck. Yeah. You're
Jim
the only
Rohn
one
says that as well. You're not a tree, you can move.
Yeah, very good, very good. Airbnb, that's an interesting one. We'll come back to that in a few minutes. I wanted to ask about Brona, because it seems that Brona has been a huge influence in you in your life and in your decision to step away from being an employee into self-employed.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk about that too, because we call it either the terror barrier or the fear wall when you go to step out and you go to do something that you've never done before.
Yeah.
How did that feel?
Like for me, so I always knew that growing, like particularly when I hit my 20s, I knew that there was people with a lot of money, of course, like everyone knows that, but I knew that the only way to generate wealth was to be in business or have an investing strategy or come from wealth. And I didn't have any of them.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like as if there was like a dimmer switch. And each and every year throughout my 20s, it was getting brighter and brighter until 25, where I met Brona online. And it was like, okay, have a listen to this book when you're on a job assignment in Japan. But what also led me to being even open enough to listen to that, because I was so skeptical. I was super skeptical of everything. I was like, because when I worked night shifts, I was, my energy levels were low. My environment was low. I was in a dark place. I remember just sitting in front of, at nighttime, sitting in front watching the news. Sky News was on repeat. And for me, when I know I needed to change, and actually I came out of a bad relationship at around 22, I think it was, and I remember looking at myself in the mirror and I was like, right, Karl, let's start going to the gym. Like, you need to beef up, and you need to get better, better in yourself now. You're single, come on. So I started going to the gym, and when I went to the gym, I listened to motivation. I was like, I'm just going to type into YouTube motivation, and Eric Thomas came up, and he kind of opened my eyes to like being better, being that bit better. And then from Eric Thomas, it was Les Brown. And I've been coached by Les Brown in terms of speaking as well. And he's incredible. And Les Brown had a softer approach, whereas Eric Thomas had that real hard approach that I wanted, that I needed. And then Les Brown came in with his linguistics and just, again, set me up for being open to being, to receive opportunities, to receive love as well. I came out of a bad relationship and I was like, no, I'm closed off. Like, I don't care. Like, it's like, whatever, I don't care. And then Brona comes along. Brona's not from an affluent family. She's very working class family, and she's very much working class as well. And she loves that as well. And that's something that I love about her, that she has the passion and the drive to move forward. Like, she just started a new project there, and she's basically having she basically created a pregnancy journal, because on our second baby there was no journals in the shops or anything like that, any good journals, because she loves writing and she's an author as well, and she created her own one, and now she's going to be selling it everywhere. So if anyone that is pregnant, there you go. There's one of the best pregnancy journals out there in the market. But she has that drive and that tenacity to like not care. And I would always be, I was always mindful about other people's opinions. And then Les Brown told me, other people's opinions are not paying your bills. That's when I started like loosening back and being like, actually, I don't care if John down the road there or Mary down the road says anything. I've had people say mad crazy things, even to my family members and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, I don't care. Like, I need to get to where I need to get to. I need to help other people as well get to where they need to get to. Because if I had this realization, there's so many people out there having this realization, and they need to lift up. A rising tide lifts all boats. And I need to help them, because I know that there's people struggling, not just financially. I know that there's people struggling motivationally as well. They're getting up to work. They're going in there. They're getting yelled by their boss and all this sort of stuff. And they don't see any way out until they decide, actually, you know what? I'm going to start investing. I'm going to start making money in investing. I'm going to start making money in business. And then it's like, all right, see you later, job. And that's possible. That's possible. I was an employee for years, and now I'm self-employed. So for me, having a strong support, i.e. Brona, was incredible. Like, and I think that's so important when you're in a relationship. Like, when we first got together, like, I think about 2 or 3 months, like within 2 months, I proposed to her. And then it was a case of, we have to talk about finances, because we're planning a wedding.
Yeah.
Not many people, when they start a relationship, start talking about finances, but we did.
It's funny, isn't it? It's almost like money is a dirty topic. In Ireland in particular, I think it's completely different in America. And from working and living over there, people, they don't care to talk about money. Yeah, money's not a dirty word.
Yeah.
But here it's like, God, you daren't ask anybody about anything to do with money, and God, heaven forbid somebody found out how much money you had. God,
it's do you know what's really interesting in terms of, like, because I've also lived and worked in America, and obviously America, biggest capitalistic nation in the world, and obviously living in Ireland, we're quite socialist. We're quite kind of like, keep our head down a little bit. There's still that undertone suppression from the British, without a doubt. There absolutely is. We see it. I see it, in so many things, because I'm the Cash Flow Club Ireland. So I see it in people as well. I'm not the Republic of Ireland. I'm the island of Ireland, if that makes sense. I'm a proud, patriotic Irish man. Like, so, there is still that, like, don't be the tallest poppy in the field. Keep your head down. We've had years of suppression, years. What is it that, like, 80%, or I'm just plugging numbers out, but like the majority of people cannot speak our own language.
Yeah. That's true.
If we don't have our language, then we don't have a nation. And I think there's a rise now, which is great as well, on the good side, not on the bad side, but like, there's a rise of being proud. Like, sometimes I'm fearful of saying I'm a proud Irish person, because they might think, oh, you know, we're getting too political anyway. But yeah, I'll move on to China. So China, people think China is a big communist country. Now, I've lived and worked in China, and I've seen that even the people that work their asses off in their jobs, they all have side hustles. They're all on the Chinese stock market trying to make a buck. They are. I remember doing what you call it, not a modeling show, but like a little bit of work on the side as a model for somebody who wore like neck braces and wrist straps and leg straps as well, because he wanted somebody. Basically, he didn't want a Chinese person. We wanted a foreign person to wear
an exotic person, an exotic Irishman is what he wanted.
Yeah. There you go. And then basically put it up on his website and sell as well. Like, and people think, oh, China is a communistic country. No, it's not. It's actually the biggest state capitalist country. State capital, which is totally different than free market capitalist, which is America. But in Ireland, you know, and again, money doesn't grow on trees comes from every, you know, every country. But I definitely agree with you. I think America, there is that kind of like, they don't mind getting into thousands and thousands of dollars in debt. It's like, it's just a dumb thing. But at the same time, you know, and because they're open to that, it's like, oh yeah, how much debt are you in from college? Oh, 250 grand. Oh, Jesus, yeah, we'll be working for the rest of your life and then some. You know,
you'll be working after you're dead to pay it off. But that is the difference. Is as you said, is the understanding, the education in money in order to do it. Because Robert Kiyosaki he loves debt.
Yeah,
absolutely loves it. From every interview I've ever heard about him is debt, and it's good. Why? Because he pays no tax on it.
Yep.
Yeah. And I suppose we personally, I still, that's still something that I need to get over myself, because I don't like being in debt. I don't like owing people things, and if I don't have the money for something, then I generally don't do it.
Yeah.
You know,
and that's a good thing as well. Like, I mean, obviously there's a difference between good debt and bad debt. Like, you know, if you're taking out a loan to, you know, like buy a house and rent it out, that's good debt, you know, and that covers the mortgage, and then you get a profit from it. Great, that covers the debt. But if you're in bad debt, like credit card debt and stuff like that, like that stuff weighs you down. Like people don't understand. In order to have, let's say 50 euro in your back pocket, you have to work for 100, because the tax man takes half.
Yeah.
So like, think about it. If you're on 50 euro an hour, like, and you get paid 50 euro an hour, and you have 50 euro in your back pocket, that's an hour of your time, but you'll only get half that because the tax man will take half. Yeah. So every time that when you're looking at things to buy, you have to double the price of it. And that's coming from someone who used to spend like 500 euro on t-shirts and materialistic things. You know, when I understand the true price of actual money, that made me think, oh, okay, I don't need that. I don't need these branded shoes to wear to impress people that I don't even know, or that they don't even like me.
There's a fantastic recording of Will Smith talking about that in particular, about, you know, spending all this money to buy stuff to impress people who we don't know and who don't know us, and blah 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 blah. But I must, on the t-shirts, I nearly had a heart attack once. I went into BT2 on Grafton Street, and this must have been early noughties, like 2002, 2003 or something like that, and I spent 150 euros on 3 t-shirts, and I came out of there going, look at it die. It's like, I mean, for some people that might be nothing, but for me at the time, that was a shed load of money, and I'm not one for fashion. I'm really not one for fashion. So I'm conscious of time, Karl. Not that we want to. I'm really enjoying the conversation, so I don't really want it to come to an end. But for people who are listening, we need to start to bring it in for a landing. What I would always like to get for people is some form of not really advice, but you know, words of wisdom, let's say,
Yeah.
for somebody who's been there, done that. I came across a quote yesterday from a lady called Cody Sanchez. I don't know if you know Cody.
No.
She's over in the US, and she preaches buying boring businesses. Yeah,
Oh,
and
wonderful.
laundromats, plumbers,
Yeah.
you know, all that sort of stuff.
Great.
There's in the US in particular, there's something like um 3 or 4 million baby boomers that are going to be retired over the next couple of years, and a large percentage of them are self-employed with profitable, small, boring businesses.
Exactly.
She's a big advocate for buying those. But
Nice.
the quote that I got from her yesterday, and I thought it was fantastic, is there's nothing more motivating for people than to understand if he did it, then I can do it too.
Yeah.
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 Um,
100%.
so you've done it, Karl.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Wow. Do you know what? It's so funny. Like, I'm getting there, but I know I've created so many accomplishments in my life where people are like, wow, oh my God, but I'm nowhere near to where I want to get to.
yeah.
But, I think, coming back on kind of, advice or, kind of words of wisdom, like, to be honest, the Me Too attitude. I remember my first big seminar that I was at, 5,000 people in a room, Tony Robbins style. And I was like, and I saw people, up on stage, and I was like, well, if he can do it, I can do it. It just, to me, it made logical sense, not the
Mm,
emotion. I took the emotion out of the equation. I was like, this person can do it. Then why can't I? Like, what? There's nothing stopping me except for any internal, crap that's in my brain, pre-programmed and stuff. But if I follow a system, Les Brown says this: there's no secret to success. There's a system to success. And if you think about it, if you're in a job, right, whether it's fixing machines, whether it's doing whatever, they will have procedures. Step one, step two, do this, do that. Whatever job you're in, click this, then click that, click this, then click that. That's a system.
mhm.
So if you can also follow any other system in any other business, then you can succeed. It is that simple. It's not easy, because if it was easy, everybody would do it. But I also think as well, like, having a Me Too attitude is vital. If one person can make 100 grand, then why can't you? And not even that high, like 10 grand. If you made 10 grand on an online business, what could that do for you? Like, if you made an extra 200 quid a week, what could that do
Mhm.
for you? So much. Like, what could that do for others?
Yeah.
So much as well. Like, I'm a big believer in giving to charity as well, and I recommend that everyone give to charity or foundations or their church or whatever they're into in terms of belief systems. I'm a bit like, all my clients, I tell them, hey, like, put in your budget some money. I don't care what it is. You have to give, you have to give, and you have to give.
Yeah.
But also, like, having that Me Too attitude, but also recognizing that it's the start that stops most people. So, we're coming into like a new year, and it's a case of, right, everyone's going to jump on the bandwagon of like, oh yeah, I'm got new year, new me,
Mhm.
and then they'll do it for 2 or 3 weeks, and then the old habits, the old
That lasts until about the third week of January, and then the gyms are empty again, and
yeah, yeah, and then it's like, it's like it's the start that stops most people. So just don't be most people, and just start. Do something. I always say this when it's someone's birthday, whether it's a friend of mine or something. I always say, do something today that your future self will thank you for.
Mhm.
And that's so important. And that doesn't have to be financially related. Of course, I'm going to talk about financially related, so I'm going to say, all right, invest. Your
Yeah.
future self will thank you. But that could be anything. That could be plant a tree in your back garden, like, and that you love, and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to see this grow, and you get like happiness from it. That could be anything. Like, it literally could be anything. So, Me Too attitude, it's the start. Just recognize that it's a start that stops most people. And geez, what else? Yeah, just keep educating yourself
Education.
and apply that education, because education changes situations. However, education does not necessarily mean transformation. It's the application of the education.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
makes
Yeah.
transformation,
Yeah.
you know?
You just think of my ooh-ah.
Yeah.
I have to come up with an or for the end of it. Ooh-ar sounds better.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny when you talk about a system to getting rich. This is a book that I read years ago and I started reading again, The Science of Getting Rich,
Wallace D. Wattles.
by Wallace D. Wattles. And that's a precursor to Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, which is a precursor to all pretty much the last 60 or 70 years worth of personal development. I mean, the information is there. There was a book I wanted to tell you about earlier. Yeah. The Secret of the Ages is the name of the book. I can't remember the name of the author. I listened to it on an audio book on Audible. Fantastic book. Really, really, really great book. What would be your book recommendation for somebody?
Well, because I'm financially minded, I would also straight away go with Rich Dad Poor Dad, because it just absolutely blew my mind out. But also How to Win Friends and Influence People, because you understand yourself a lot. My two books. No. You know, there is so many books. Like, I think, yeah, like there's just I pretty much nearly read all of Robert Kiyosaki's collection of books.
Yeah.
One of another good one was Second Chance, which was written by Robert Kiyosaki in 2018, and I read that in 2021. And for me, that was my second chance, because I was traveling again with my job at the time, and you know, that really hit me as well. The Compound Effect is a really, really good one by Darren Hardy. Yeah, Think and Grow Rich is great for the mindset.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
really, really powerful. What else? Do I have any books here?
So some of them. This is the thing with it. I love Think and Grow Rich. I have it here, and I'm reading chapter 15 at the moment. How to outwit the 6 ghosts of fear. Yeah.
Nice.
And I've been reading. I've had that page open there, and I read a little bit of it each day. For probably about the last month or so. And it's not that I'm a slow reader. It's that I want to try and actually understand it. And one of the things we didn't quite touch on, but the beliefs that we have in our subconscious mind, those we call them paradigms, which is a group of habits clumped together that control what you do. Because about 90 to 95% of what you do on a daily basis is done on autopilot. It's done without you even thinking about it.
Yeah.
And the only way, there's 2 ways. You mentioned one earlier, which I thought was good. The other way is to build a new paradigm or a new belief is through constant spaced repetition.
Yeah.
And the one you mentioned earlier on was the emotional impact.
Yeah.
So when something usually negative happens, you get this emotional impact, which can have a change of your belief. But the constant spaced repetition, by reading the same thing over and over again, by listening to the same thing over and over again, by writing the same thing over and over again, that's how you reprogram yourself. As you said earlier on, it's very simple, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
But can you do it? Yes. Is it worth it? Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. 100%.
So I'll let you have the final words, Karl. Is there anything else? If people want to find you and find out more about you and the Cash Flow Club in Ireland, where can they do that?
Yeah, so we've got Instagram, Cash Flow Club Ireland. You can follow us there. We're on LinkedIn as well. I'm on LinkedIn as Karl Davidson. Connect with me there. Connect with me on Facebook. We've got a private group, obviously, on Facebook as well, Cash Flow Club Ireland. And we also have an email list as well. If you want to jump on that, I send out some kind of like new type of newsletters every now and then. And yeah, we run events all around Ireland, online events. Our next online event is December 5th. But yeah, like we're there, we're out there, and then we're obviously, branching out to Cashflow Club Portugal as well. So if there's any Portuguese out there as well. So yeah, like it's exciting times, but I think, the best thing to do, as I said, is just start and don't worry about other people and, I should have done this like 10, 15 years ago. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, start now. Start as quickly as you want, start as slowly as you want. It doesn't matter. Just start, and as I said, your future self will thank you for it.
Cool. Good advice. Reminds me of the Chinese proverb, which was the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is now.
Yeah, 100%, Adrian.
Cool. Well, Karl, I've really enjoyed this evening. Thank you so much for being a guest on the show. I really mean it. Yeah, we look forward to releasing this out. Let people hear your wisdom. So thanks a million.
Awesome. Cheers, Adrian. Thank you.
Cheers.